Welcome back to The Rising of the Shield Hero Anime Review, Episode 31. Yeah, it's been 19 months since the last episode aired. Yeah, 19 months. Yeah, last one aired on Christmas Day back in 2023. One thing I was quite surprised about for this particular episode is they didn't do this with the last two seasons of the show, but apparently this season decided to do it the day it came out. Lately, the last couple years, they've been doing this where some of the shows I'm watching where Crunchyroll does release the English dub the same day as when the episode comes out. Other times, they wait 2 weeks. But I guess it's Rising to Shield Hero's turn because this is the first time I can think that this has ever happened with this show. And this is only the third season of a review for the show. Yeah, third season. Before talking about the episode itself, I should point out, though, in the past 3 seasons of the show, they pretty much covered 12 books. Though how they adapt those books was weird, because the first season of the show covered roughly the first 5 books. They started adapting book 6, and then pretty much the ending of book 10. And then, slowly but surely, they were kind of, in the case of season 2, they were kind of trying to fill in that little gap between, like, the ending of, like, basically where book 6 left off and where they get book 10. And they tried to cover that in 12 freaking episodes. And the stuff was out of order. I don't know what the reason was for this at all. And if you watch season 3, that was pretty much basically because the director of the first season came back to do that one. I think the director's similar to this one too. That was probably the director just apologizing to fans of the show for what happened with season 2. And unlike the previous 2 seasons, would adapted roughly 5 books, last season only adapted. Well, actually, they technically adapted. They actually adapted for season 2. It wasn't 5 books. No, it was actually I think it was 3. I think it was. Yeah, I think it was 3. Let me take a quick look at that there. So I know that season 1 for the show, they pretty much start adapting book 6. They started at the book 6, but then they have some chapters of book 10. And then with season 2, they continue adapting book 6, but this is the season where, let's adapt everything out of order for no reason. Yeah, I'm not kidding about that. Chapters were adapted out of order. So, the second season had book 6 finished up in 3 episodes, which, okay, look how they're going to start adapting it. Starting with the 4th episode, they start adapting book 7. And this lasted up until you think, was the finished episode 6? Well, yes. They adapted 1 book in 3 episodes. Then, starting with episode 7, they adapted book 8 for the show. Yes, for the light novels. Book 8. And this one also lasts for 3 frickin' books. 3 episodes. Well, no, because basically book 8 had a 4th episode. That being episode number 10. And that was book 8, mind you. Yes, book 8. Book 8 didn't finally finish until episode 11. Yes, episode 11 of the show, of the season. And then for the last 2 episodes, they covered book 9 in 2 episodes. Yeah, do not know the reason for this, but they did. So yeah, they went way too quickly in the case of the second season. And second season got a lot of flack for it. The third season was a lot better. For one thing, they started with book 10 and they ended with book 12. Actually, they finished book 10 in just 3 episodes because they actually partially adapted that for season 1, and this one they kind of pretty much adapted the rest, which is fine. Though I should point out, though, the Tiger siblings, which are featured in this current season show, Fall and Alta made their debut in the third episode, which are adapting book 11 of the light novels, which this would last until, get this, so that was up to episode 6, so roughly 4 episodes. That's not bad. 4 episodes is fine, not frickin' 2. Yes. But in the case of book 12, they started adapting with the 7-episode season, and I believe they pretty much in a way covered that whole book from episode 7, I think up until the final episode, I believe it was. Yes. Pretty much in the way that's where they got left off with book 12. Excuse me, yes. Now, in all accounts, season 3 was better. And this season starts off basically. Now, I should point out, though, those of you who probably have not watched the season in quite some time, those who forgot, Billy Kometz he got replaced at the season 1 as Nafumi due to his diagnosis with colon cancer. He since passed away back in 2021. Prior to the start of season 2 of the show. That's primarily the reason why they're replaced with Stephen Fu. This is actually Stephen Fu's 3rd season voicing Nafumi. And also one of 2 shows that Billy Kometz was in that had their season that he got replaced in. The other being Welcome Demon School Irma-kun, which I think the first time I heard him as Nafumi, I think he does a pretty good job with it. I haven't heard the dub for this in 5 years because I originally watched these back in 2020. So, in the case of this episode, which is called Siltvelt, which pretty much covered the prologue and the first 3 chapters and a portion of chapter 4 of book 13. So we started with Nafumi, the dragon from the previous season, and the little girl he's with. The dragon itself, I believe, popped up in the previous season show. Yeah, the little baby dragon. With Wanda and her pet dragon. Gindola. Yeah, she got a little baby dragon to take care of, which of course they're seen flying to Qualmec, but when they get to the border, he has to gather his forces. And then just by sheer coincidence, someone fires a water blast and he deflects it, and it turns out it's actually Philo, Melty, and Ralph-chan. No, Chan's not in the dub, by the way. Yeah, great to see these 3 again. Now, of course, indirectly, Nafumi was named because the fact that he was made made the Grand Duke, per se. Yes. Where basically Melty became his fiancée. Yes. Seriously. Yes, a girl who is 10 years old became it. Now, he, of course, basically does not want to do anything to her at all. And, of course, it's implied she may have a thing for him. Oh, in case you're wondering, how old is Nafumi? Nafumi is 20. He is 10 years older than his political fiance. But they don't mention the fiance stuff in this episode. But yeah, he may be engaged to Melty, but he's not going to do anything to the girl at all because she's 10 years old. And she's Philo's best friend. And of course, also, Philo has a question from the previous Felty Queen, which of course, basically, he would take, but he would not listen because he has something else to deal with, because something very important. So then he goes back to his village with Melty. They cut the bit out, basically, of them running to each other, where you have basically pretty much everybody, including the Shield, including Ren Iski, who are the bow and sword heroes. The spear hero makes a brief appearance in the episode, driving a freaking carriage, scaring people, proclaiming he's his father because he's obsessed with Philo, a little girl. I know that basically, Fumi tries to ignore him half the time because he's annoying. I think he should punch him because he's a freaking pedophile. Yes, because he's in love with a little girl. I'm like, dude, what the heck is your problem? So, of course, they are going to bring a carriage, but not the carriage that Phil likes to drive. And of course, but by the way, also for this dub, it is great to hear Brianna Knickerbocker voicing Philo again. First time I heard her voicing his character, I believe since I think the last time I can think of that I heard her voice this character was probably in Isekai Quartet Season 2, which that's when she made a brief appearance in the show. So then, of course, basically a lot of the characters are joining them. Now, the one they call Grandma, the one who's the instructor, she's not here in this episode. If you're curious, did they cut to the episode? No, they did not. There's also a scene here where basically Nafumi is requesting Melty to tell the Queen about it, and there's a shadow right there. Which, that was actually a change from the light novel, which of course basically she already told her mother about what's going on. Which, surprised they made that change there, but it doesn't really affect the scene at all. So, Ren and Izuki will stay there to try and continue to break the curse. Which, of course, the girl who's in love with Ren, she's going to stay too. So it's just Raftalia, Ralphie-chun, Philo, Silda, the woman turns to basically an orc whale, the tiger siblings, and I believe that's it. The little girl with the dragon, she stays behind because basically she's not involved with the story. She was involved briefly with the story because she's at the beginning, but she's not involved with the rest of the book. She stays in the village, and of course Melty keep an eye on the village per se. So then they go to the carriage. So right after this, they go into the carriage and they arrive in Siltvelt, which apparently someone probably leaked word about his arrival because of course basically there is basically a big gathering. And of course, people are, because this is a country that worships a show hero, they're basically met up with a Birdman, well, referred to as, I think his name is, I'm trying to remember his name here, because basically he's a Birdman with red wings, and he makes his debut in this light novel. What is his name here? Yeah, so then of course he's kind of in a way brought to their palace because in a way, for some reason, the shield hero, despite the fact he's one they worship, he's also their ruler, which is interesting, and humans kept as slaves in the country. Yeah. So he's basically brought to this throne room where his servants can't go with him for reasons. So you have to climb this 2-step thing to get to his throne. And He's requested to stay for a few days so they can hold a banquet, and he needs a boat to go to Quintana. So he agrees to the banquet so he can go. And of course, basically, the servants, of course, get their own separate rooms. Altab requests a room next to Nafumi's, which they actually added this line in the anime where basically people were grumbling. Now, in the book, basically, they glared at her. In the anime, basically, they were thinking, like, how dare she basically speak to them that way, like, whatever, like, basically thinking she's a last being because she's basically a servant. But they have no problem with it at all. And they don't show the guest rooms, per se. Nope. And then we see, of course, either we can't go around town, but we have to go around, basically, prepare for a visit. So he's like, can I at least roam around the palace? If I can't roam around town, can I at least roam around the house? Like, sure, no problem. And this party basically proceed to walk around the palace, where they run into a lion beastman. Yes, believe it or not, they actually run into the thing. Now, I was surprised, like, even not Fumi, they had one of these things, because I've only seen this species pop up in one anime prior to this one. You're thinking, which one? How Realistic rebuilt the kingdom. He was one of the primary characters in the series. And of course, later on, after the character died, his daughter took on a supporting role in the series, even falling in love with basically the former treasurer of the country, which of course got annexed in the series. So he basically says he couldn't make it per se, but he didn't know there was a lion demi-human. Yeah, I was surprised with that too, but it's like, appearance-wise, he looks very, like, just by sheer coincidence, he looks a lot like the Lion General from that series, right? The How Realistic Became. I wouldn't be surprised if Criminal Circus took inspiration for that design for this character, because I don't remember if this character, I'm sure he probably does appear in the books, per se. Yeah. I don't remember this guy's name, but he does appear in the episode. It's definitely a very interesting episode, per se. Now, I first heard about the season a while ago, but I knew it was coming, but I just didn't know it coming this quickly. I had no idea. But overall, this was a really good episode. I'd say the episode did a really good job adapting 3 chapters. Yes. And unlike the pilot episode, it's not 45 minutes. Yeah. So, that's pretty much it for this particular video. Please be sure to like, comment, subscribe, turn notifications. I will see you all later for more anime. Okay, next video. Bye.